Well, good morning.
Good morning.
It's the 29th of December, 2025, and I'm in Jacksonville, Florida to interview Air Force veteran Ryan Williams Sr. And Ryan, you're in Tampa, Florida. Is that correct?
Yes.
Excellent. I'm Scott Mythen with the Veterans Museum, and we're going to interview Ryan to get his story of growing up in Buffalo, New York, joining the Air Force, and then becoming a cybersecurity expert. And we're doing this for the Library of Congress Veterans History Project. So Ryan, thank you for agreeing to sit down and tell your story.
Thank you. This is a privilege.
Yeah. And if you don't mind, we're going to start at the very beginning. Tell us about growing up in Buffalo.
Well, lots of snow, but so I grew up on the east side of Buffalo. To My mother, who's an Army veteran, so single parent mother who did a tour in the Army. So she was at Fort Bragg and Fort Dix before coming back home, and just hardworking woman, right? So my grandmother and my mother definitely set me up for success, even though we didn't have a lot, right? We were able to, get me to and from school, long walks through snow. Like I always tell my kids, they think I'm playing around. Like no, walking uphill through 4 feet of snow, right? And dress shoes because I went to a Catholic school because it was just the better institution in my area of the east side of Buffalo. I grew up in the Kensington Langfield townhomes, so it's a fancy way of saying the projects. But it humble beginnings, and it definitely led me to work hard, play hard, and ultimately, work my way towards joining the military.
And you mentioned your grandmother was also in Buffalo. Is that right?
Yes, yeah. So my grandmother, she lived to be in her 80s. But yeah, so while my mother was away in the Army, my grandmother would walk me to and from school. Again, snow, sleet, rain, shine. Very hardworking woman, and she's the one who actually enrolled me in the Catholic school originally, and then I did that all the way from kindergarten to high school. So several different schools, right? Because grade school, middle school, and then high school was Turner Carroll High School. None of those exist anymore. It's crazy. There's a big Catholic school, private school, like presence in Western New York. But a lot of those kind of shuttered their doors because of funding. So my school no longer exists.
And the high school, was that a Catholic school or a high
So it
school?
was Catholic school as well. It was called Turner Carroll. It was two different high schools that merged. It was an all boy and all girls school. And then when I went there in the '90s, it was co-ed.
What year did you graduate?
So I graduated in 2001.
And Ryan, what activities were you involved in middle school, high school?
So a lot of art. So I used to draw a lot and things of that nature. Didn't play any instruments or anything like that. I can't carry a tune, no rhythm, right? Um, but I was able to, kind of hone in on those computer skills. And so we didn't really we had kind of like one of those Apple IIe type situations in the back of the classroom, right? Playing Oregon Trail or Where in the World's Carmen San Diego, things like that. And then, once we leveled up in high school, it was like the early 2000s is when they started to add internet to schools and things of that nature. And we had like a little computer science lab. So I kind of tinkered around in there. And that's when I decided to pursue computer science, going into college, but pivoted very quickly. So
Did your affinity for technology and computers just come naturally?
yes, I grew up a little tinkerer. Like so when things would break around the house, I kind of take them apart. Sometimes put them back together, right. And I was the go to when anything new came in the house, because the '80s and '90s was that big tech wave change, right? We went from like record players to cassettes to CDs. So I was always kind of the tip of the spear, like give it to Ryan, he'll figure it out. How to plug it in, things of that nature.
So you were tech support
I
for
was. I was the help
everyone.
desk for the whole family.
It definitely helped your grandmother program her VCR.
Yes, yes. Like for whatever reason, people had a hard time changing the time on those things. So it was my job. And then just any new technology that came in the house.
And you had computers in school, in the classroom, and in a computer lab.
Yes. So none at home. We didn't have back in those days. We didn't have computer money, right? Like everything's a computer now, but that was really for rich people, in quotations, back in those times. So I used it at school. I used it at the library because we had a local library that also had little computer stations and things of that nature, playing Mavis Beacon, and things like that.
Right, learning how to type.
Right, exactly.
Did you have any video games?
So NES. So my father dropped one off like the 88 maybe. It blew my mind, right? Cut on Mario Brothers. I had this little 13-inch tube TV with the wood paneling on the side, right? You had to change the channel to channel 3 if you wanted to use something. Like really old school days. But yeah, playing Mario, Bomberman, games like that, like Bayou Billy. It's a pretty obscure game, but it's one of the ones that he brought as well. So I had this shoebox of cartridges, and then it's kind of like how I got my passion for video games.
And do you still play?
I do not as much as I got a family and several different jobs going on right now, so I slide in when I can.
Excellent. So what were your friends going to do after high school? What were their plans?
So for the most part, I had a very small circle. I was, the nerdy kid. Didn't have the best of fashion and clothes and sneakers and things of that nature. So I had a really good friend from kindergarten all the way through high school, James Thomas. So still talk to him. That's my best friend, and he joined the Navy. So I went Air Force, he went Navy. I think he was in for like 8 or 9 years, came out, went to school for nursing, and now he's a nurse.
That's fantastic. And you're still friends?
Oh yeah. He was just here, I want to say, because he's a big wrestling fan. So the WWE was here, so he came into town to see the show and for us to catch up.
That's great. Now, I know your mom was in the Army and served while you were younger,
Hmm.
but were you thinking about the military even before your friend joined?
No, so I planned to I was like, I'm gonna go to school far away, right? I'm gonna get out of Buffalo. I'm gonna go to school, computer science. Um, and I grew up with my mom's uniforms in the closet, right? Like play with her pins, and I'd read the Army Field Manual and things like that. Just like plain Army. I didn't really consider joining the military. And then what I found was, life just hits you when you turn 18, 19, right? So I'm going to school full time. I'm working full time because I have to pay for my car insurance and gas, and I'm still living at home, but like the bills are super tight for my portion. And I was just like, I'm not doing well in school. Computer science is kicking my butt, right? I hit a level of math where I just didn't have the discipline to exceed it, right? Like I was like Calc 2 pulling a C, and I still had to get way higher than that, right? To continue down that path. So I said, you know what? There is a recruiting office downtown. I'm going to go talk to them to see what I can do about, getting some time off of school, which I didn't know the military is nothing but school. And I want to see the world, right? So I'll get the GI Bill, come back home, or wherever, and pursue school in that fashion. And then when I went, my mother was like, "Go to the Navy recruiter or go to the Air Force recruiter." Like she loved the Army, but she was like, "Go to one of those." Then I showed up, and the Air Force recruiter was not there on time. He was because his quota was so low, right? It's like it's 2003, and yeah, we're in wartime, but it was such patriotism. Everybody wanted to join the military. The economy was like kind of weird because of the .com bust and things of that nature. So there was a lot of people in, right? So I went to the Navy recruiter, took the ASVAB. They were impressed with the scores, and then as I'm exiting, the Air Force recruiter opens his door, and I go talk to him. Really, really cool guy, Master Sergeant Peterson. was his name, but he hit me with the "we don't need you" pitch, right? Like, oh, he was a master at it. So I walk in immediately. He was like, I don't need anybody. You can leave. So I was like, wait, hold on. So you don't need me. So we sat down and talked, and I didn't know how good he was at recruiting, right? So basically, his thing was, he can kind of sense that I was the type of person where like not boastful, but I was like, I got skills. I can do something for the Air Force, and he got me with it. Next thing you know, I'm in depth.
That's brilliant. Yeah. Now, there was a gap there. You graduated in 2001, and tell us where you went to school.
So I graduated in 2001. I was accepted to a couple of schools nearby, like Canisius College accepted me under my major. The University of Buffalo accepted me under general because they were like, your math skills don't seem to be quite where you need to be for computer science. And then Alfred University, so that was way further north, right, upper New York. So I, of course, chose the one furthest away, not knowing how tuition worked, right? So they were like at the last minute, they were like, okay, now you need to sign all of these loans to come here, and I didn't have any credit, right? I had a full-time job, but it wasn't anything where I can pay tuition, and I had no cosigner. Everybody was like, nope, not gonna. You're not going to ruin my credit, right? So I wound up going to Erie Community College. So ECC had three campuses. So they had city, that was downtown, north and south. So I chose north because, again, I wanted to kind of get away from home. So at least I was able to, drive myself to school and be away for, some time. And then, like I said, I kind of had that friction between grades kind of not being where they needed to be. The budget was tight. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to choose the military and see where that takes me.
And were you able to take any computer science classes at the
I
community
did.
college?
So I took, I was a sophomore when I ran into the math wall. I was pivoting I had to go from Calc 2 to, there was some kind of intermediate class before differential equations. And I took Calc 2 twice. I put a C twice. I was like, I don't think I'm going to be able to climb over this wall because I'm going to school full time during the day. I'm working all night. I worked at a bank called HSBC. So HSBC, for them, I did several different jobs. Because the way Buffalo works, right, with the snow. So we had to wait for the trucks to arrive, and we would balance the accounts at night. So we sat at these giant adding machines, and we would drop checks in them for the totals to make sure that they matched what the cashiers took in. And it'd be off by a couple pennies here and there, and we'd fix that. However, if a blizzard blew in, that we would have to cut our machines off because we couldn't just sit there on the clock. And they had odd jobs around the bank, so you could tell how old I am. They had a job called microfilm. So before online banking, they would take pictures of all the checks, and you would scroll through them on this machine that kind of looked at like the newspaper machine at the libraries. And you would scroll through until you found their check. Then you take a picture of their check, and you would send it back to them. And then when that wasn't like there wasn't a lot of activity that night, I'll go to a place called Lockbox, and Lockbox took in the commercial accounts. So I worked on Singular. So again, showing my age, Singular doesn't exist anymore, right? They were purchased by AT&T or someone else. And basically you would take in their bills because people would put, checks or money in an envelope and send it to Singular, but they really send it to us. And we would open them and then balance their accounts at night. So I did that, and I was exhausted.
I believe it because you were in school full time and working almost full time.
Right.
So you barely had time to sleep, let alone do homework.
Yeah, I would literally go home, take a shower, and then go to school. And then between school and work, I would go over like my girlfriend's house, which is now my wife, hang out with her for a few hours, and then go back to work. Just continuous cycle.
Yeah, but really not sustainable for the long term.
No, not at all. And like I said, my grades were terrible because of it. So I was like, I have to do something different.
Yeah, I mean the average student, they're not required to work a full-time job to pay for their own bills. So
Right.
yeah, the deck was more or less stacked against you. It is interesting though that working at the bank, you were working on analog and early digital systems.
Right. Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of those systems they're right. They're just something that sits on a desk now. But like my entire desk was a computer.
And did you just like in your home programming everything electronic when you were a kid, did you become the go-to guy at the bank?
To a certain extent, like when they needed help in other departments and the help desk wasn't there, right? I was the shut it off and turn it back on guy, or I was the, you know, let's tinker around with the settings to get it working again. But not to the extent that, you know, when I joined the military, just a little bit more tinkering, right? And just trying to show my value so I can continue to work there.
And I love the story you told about the recruiter, the master sergeant, who said, you know, we don't need you. And
Right.
it made you have to offer what you could bring to the Air Force. So, what technological capabilities did you present that made him change his mind?
So for me, it was because I didn't exactly know what the Air Force did, right? I just knew like planes. Okay, it makes sense. So I was talking to him about how I used to, you know, strip down, you know, electronics like my game systems, my Walkman, things of that nature, and put them back together. Or if something came to there was a Goodwill nearby, right? And they would always have like broken electronics. So I would take those and kind of work on those as well. Usually not successful, but I showed him that I had you know, uh, kind of a what's the word I'm like aptitude for electronics. So he was a avionic mechanic. So he was, I'm sorry, like avionics, and I forget what it was called, like electrical systems or something like that. So he worked on the tech that was on the jet. So that's what he wanted me to do. So he was a little disappointed when I went into computers. He was like, "No, I want you to work on planes." But it worked out to my advantage.
When you were in the DEP program, did you have that opportunity to choose which field you wanted to go into?
No, so again, because there were so many people who wanted to come in, I had to come in open electronics. So that was his pitch, right? Like, okay, you come in open electronics. When you get to basic, you're going to be able to kind of pinpoint what you want to do, like based upon what's available and open. So he was like, go avionics. And when I got there, it was biomed tech, which was the guys who worked on the hospital equipment. It was data maintenance is which I became. So a 2E2 X1. So those were the guys that worked on telephones, cryptography, and a little bit of networking. But it wasn't until later on when we merged with another career field that we went full cyber transport. And then cable dog. So the guys who work on the what I suspected at the time was like telephone poles, you know, satellite communications, like guys who climbed. So in basic, they lined us up and they had us climb the pole, right, with the harness and everything, like old school harness, like the stuff that they don't even use anymore. But I found out really quickly that I have a fear of heights. So I didn't know it at the time because I never climbed that high, right? So we're climbing telephone poles. I got to the top, and you're supposed to lean back in your harness and let go. So it's like a trust exercise. I could not do it. So the TI is screaming at me from the bottom, and from my perspective, it felt like I was like 1,000 feet in the air. I was like, no, I'm not gonna let go. So automatically disqualified. So you know, it came down. He chewed me out, and he was like, pick one of these other two. So I picked biomed tech. I picked data maintenance, and data maintenance had an opening.
Excellent. Now, I know your mom originally said, don't go to the Army, go to the Navy or the Air Force. So once you signed up, like before you went to boot camp, when you went back home and told everybody you were joining the Air Force, what did they say?
Uh, Kind of a little bit of disbelief, because it was wartime, right? So we had just gone from Afghanistan into Iraq. So like I'm in the recruiter's office when we had the shock and awe campaign, right? When they were really unleashing war on Iraq, and they're like, "You are crazy! Like, why would you do that?" So it was a lot of not necessarily anti-war sentiment. It was like you're joining at the wrong time. Like they're going to ship you straight to Iraq. which took a couple years, but yes, they shipped me to Iraq.
It happened. What was the conversation like with your girlfriend?
Supportive, because she saw I was really struggling doing all those things, right? And she was like, you know what, I support you. I know you're gonna do, great things. And we knew a military policeman. Like he had gone out to high school with one of her friends. He was not in Iraq, so she was like, "Chance of you going are slim to none, right?" Because he was like, he's not going. He's in the States.
And that trip to boot camp, was that your first time on an airplane?
Second, so it's my second time on an airplane. So I flew once to New York City to visit my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, her family, and then yeah, that was my second time on a plane. And it was a very long flight comparative to like from Buffalo to the city is like 40 minutes.
Did you go to Lackland?
I did. I did. Yeah. So I went to Lackland because at the time we only like for years even after I joined, we only had one boot camp. Like it was just that one, right? So everybody had the same experience coming out of basic, and then obviously over COVID and things like that changed the way we do things. Now we have the Space Force and things of that nature as well. But at the time it was a one-stop shop. Everybody went to San Antonio.
And you joined March 25th, 2003. Is that
I
right?
did.
So not a bad time of year to go to San Antonio.
No. It was still compared to Buffalo. It was still like X-ray heat. Like I've never been that hot in my life. And having to run in that and exercise and things of that nature. But it was a great experience. Like I came in fearful. I came out with a lot more discipline and confidence in myself.
You were a little bit older than the average recruits, right?
I was kind of in that window. I was 19. So you had a handful of 17-year-olds, and then mostly people who were 18, or I think the oldest we had a reservist. I think he was in his mid-20s, which to us was like ancient, right?
Yeah, so he was the old guy.
He was the old guy.
What were the instructors like?
They're for TIs, they were pretty cool, right? Like it was a lot of learning common sense, right? From the military perspective. So there's a lot of you think you know what you're doing and then you're getting screamed at because of it. But fairly quickly, like my mom was Army, right? So you're not going to out yell my mom. You're not going to out stare my mom. So I was more concerned with like my whole thing was it's like a team sport, right? I'm one of 55 guys in the barracks, so I want to make sure I don't let my team down. So anytime that, because it's mass punishment, right? Because they're trying to make you all conform. So anytime that I disappointed a team, it's real heartbreaking.
You had been self-sufficient and I'm guessing independent, after high school, going to college. What was it like to suddenly be in a team so big that everyone was impacted?
It was really daunting, right? Because there's some things that they had to work out of me, right? Like so, the way I spoke, they always yelled at me about that being from Western New York. So there's a certain way you carry yourself, certain way you speak. So they yell at me about bebopping, right? Because it's certain, like, they're trying to teach you how to march, and I have a little bit more swag in my walk. So there's certain things they had to get out of you. But for the most part, I was pretty good. I was also tall though, so it's a funny story. So we had a TI, and his wife was coming. Well, she was due, right? She's gonna have a baby. So I'd already been an element leader, been fired. I just the cadence and rhythm, right? I need to be a couple rows back. So, fired several times, can't be element leader, things of that nature. So he goes on leave, because at the time there was no paternity leave, right? So he went on leave. We get a new TI. He doesn't know us from Adam, right? So immediately sees a tall guy. Hey, you get in the front. Like, what are you back there for? Oh, and then now he's pecking me in the forehead with his hat, because he learns very quickly, like, I shouldn't be up here.
That job, the element lead, was to call cadence, right?
Right, exactly. So I
Which
couldn't call cadence, and I couldn't be first in the element lead, even though I was a little bit taller. Because yeah, I'm gonna march us straight into nowhere. So
but you made it through.
I did, I did, and then again another confidence boost, right? Like to go through that, something that you see on TV that looks completely impossible. I was like, okay, I feel more confident. I feel like I can do something for the Air Force. I can provide value.
Was anyone able to, family, friends, girlfriend, able to come to your graduation?
So my wife, so she was able to attend. So it was just her was able to come, but it was great. Like the best experience of my life at that time.
Did you know where you were going at like the final week of boot camp? You had orders to your training command?
Yes. So I found out probably 2 weeks before graduation that I was going to Keesler, Mississippi for training. Electronic principles was the first course they put us through.
And how did you get from San Antonio to Keesler?
Bus, actually. Yeah, so they put us on a chartered bus and sent us on our way. So I'm on the bus with a lot of people I've never met before, right? And it's people who are going there for weather or for, like me, data maintenance. Or we also had guys that were going for SATCOM, so satellite communications, but they had to go through EP first. So it was a big mix of people who would be there for like, weeks, to people who like would be there like me for 7, 8 months, to weather guys would be there for a year or more.
Did you have to wait very long before you classed up?
No, it was fairly quick. So you mean in the sense of like getting my class and then attending? Yeah. So EP was like immediate because they had several different AFSCs, so they had to make sure that one kicked off as soon as we arrived. And then those guys, the satellite communication guys, I think they went to Fort Gordon and they left us. And then the data maintenance guys like myself, we remained there. And then we had a little bit of a break between the two as they kind of filled classes and things of that nature.
So what was the data maintenance curriculum like? What were the classes like?
So they went in blocks. So you had your basically your familiarization. There you go. There's the word. Where they're trying to get us used to how PCs work, right? So we're stripping down PCs to put them together, and I loved it. It was great. And then we went into data flow, and then how networks do what they do, right, when it comes to transporting data. So we learned IP addressing and subnetting, and that was the hardest for me because there was a lot of math, but then I worked so hard at it that it was one of the only blocks that I got 100%, right? So I'd gone overboard with that one because I wanted to make sure, like, okay, I'm going to make it. I cannot have any issues. And then it went into telephone systems and cabling, and then ultimately it ended with cryptography, and we built full-blown networks. So it was very challenging.
That's an extensive, IT curriculum. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's again, like military training is phenomenal. Like you think of, old equipment and it's going to be mostly physical, but no, it was like really broad and opened my eyes to computer systems and networks and security. So it was great.
Did you connect with any of the instructors?
For the subnetting class, I cannot remember her name. It's been 22 years or something like that. But she was awesome, and she knew I was having issues at the beginning. So she worked with me to make sure that I would pass. So when I took the test, it's before virtual testing, right? Before we were sitting down with computers. So you're filling the bubbles, what have you. So I turned into her, and her eyes are like humongous. I'm like, oh man, I failed. and she was like, congratulations, and gave me a certificate. Like a very, very, a lot of pride in that moment.
It's fascinating to me to know that just a few months earlier, you were working so hard to make money to pay so that you
Right.
could sit in a classroom. Now you're getting paid to be a student.
Exactly. It gives you a totally different perspective on it, and just having the ability to focus, right? Like my job is school, really, changed everything.
Now, you had mentioned you had struggled as a kid financially, single income. What what did you get with like your first Air Force paycheck?
Ooh, my first Air Force paycheck. Um, so I paid my phone bill because at the time I just got my first cell phone. So I had a Sprint. It was a brick. So I bought a phone. I paid the phone bill, and yeah, the rest went into the account for whatever was next. Buying snacks and stuff like that, or buying new civilian clothes.
And your girlfriend was back in Buffalo?
She was.
So that's a lot of phone calls.
It was, yeah, and letters. So and that was back in the day where you received letters, right? So I still have them. I still have them. I have this plastic Tupperware type thing where I keep all of my military stuff. And yeah, I still have the yearbook and her letters. We look at them sometimes. Is cute. After a 25-year relationship, we've been married for 22 years. So it's
That's
amazing to look back at the beginning of our relationship till now.
so you were writing letters even in boot camp then.
Yes, yep, writing letters back and forth, a lot of stamps, and it just wasn't like technology wasn't where it currently is. It was really scarce, right? It was hard to find a PC that was open for you to use, even until probably, oh man, I would say my second assignment, because even in my first assignment, we only had one PC for all the airmen. It was like, if you want to use it, you better get there and get to it.
And did you call your mom and check in occasionally?
I did, and at that time it was, in basic anyway, it was phone cards and payphones. So we had like rows and rows of payphones. You would go there and you would, make your call, calling card, but you had to be respectful of time, right? Like it was like you had to make sure you got off because a TI would appear behind you to let you know it's time to get off the phone.
And the data maintenance school was at Keesler Air Force Base, which is on the Gulf Coast. What did
Yes.
you think of that whole area?
You said what did I think of the area?
Yeah.
It was different. So my initial impression, so coming from again Western New York, we the bus pulls up and there's a historical plantation before you turn into the base and has a giant Confederate flag. So automatically, right, not knowing the South and the history and how some people like the people where I grew up, if they waved that flag, it was bad for business. But when you came down south, the different people had different levels of pride and history behind it and things of that nature. But it was my first encounter with it. So I was like, oh man, it's going to be bad. But yeah, everybody in Biloxi was very nice. It's very melting pot of cultures. My first casinos, right? Because there was lots of casinos and things down there, buffets, things of that nature. So it was a really good experience. I had some friends who went a little bit upper, like they left the Gulf Coast and went a little bit further north to visit, and they didn't receive them as well, right? So it's very different culture, but for the most part, I had a great time.
Did you think the Air Force Base had an effect on the surrounding area?
Oh, absolutely. Both that and the gambling industry. So it put a lot of people coming in for vacationing and things of that nature. So it was a really healthy mix of people. So it was closer to being home than not.
That's good. And did you make some friends while you were in school?
Yes. So I keep in touch with my second roommate. So him and I were at Keesler together, and then when we graduated, we parted ways. But then we reconnected at my third assignment in Alaska. But yeah, we talk on a almost weekly basis, and catch up with our families and things of that nature.
That's great. Now, you mentioned struggling a little bit in one of the classes, subnet, and then doing very well. Did you do well overall in the training?
I did. I ran into one stumbling block. So there was another block of training. I can't remember if it was the phone switching, or I think it was cryptography. And I think on one of the quizzes I missed it by like a point. So then I had to repeat that course, and I obviously aced it the second time. But in doing so, I feel everything happens for a reason. So everybody who was in my initial class, none of us had the same assignment. But in my the class I washed back into, half of them were going to Mountain Home. So I got to meet people in my technical training that I would ultimately fly out to Idaho with.
Very
So
cool.
it kind of worked out.
Yeah, when you're near the end of your training, just like boot camp, you find out where you're going. You got your orders.
Right. I had no clue where Idaho was. So initially when I saw it, I was on the phone with my girlfriend, right, my wife, and like I was super excited. Like I put in for nothing but overseas and East Coast bases. So I either wanted to go back to the East Coast or I wanted to go to Japan, or I put Germany. Like I just wanted it to go. And then I opened it up and it says Mountain Home ID. And I was like, ID? I was like, India? Indonesia? Like, do we have bases there? And I was like, Idaho. And again, support. She was like, because she could hear my like the soul leave my body. And she was like, it's going to be okay. Like, you're going to be okay. Like I'll, because our wedding was planned for after my graduation. So we got married in November, the week of Thanksgiving. So I graduated, went home, we got married, and then she was supposed to come with me. So she was ultimately going to have to come with me to Idaho. But she was very supportive.
That's fantastic. Were you able to get her added to your orders?
After the fact. So after I arrived in Mountain Home, was when I was able to give them our marriage certificate, and then they were able to fly her out. Which again, funny story. Like military flights are so cheap, or let's just say they buy the cheapest flight. So they flew her over Idaho to Seattle and then back.
How did you get from Mississippi to Idaho?
So it was a flight. So they flew me into Boise.
Now you went home and got married. Did you go back to Keesler to check out?
Oh, I'm sorry. So no, I flew to Buffalo and I flew from Buffalo. So I departed Buffalo and flew to Idaho.
Nice.
So we were able to coordinate all that just before I left, which was different, right? I had to learn how a government travel card worked, and like that was like brand new, and I didn't have a lot of experience with credit cards and things of that nature, because they're kind of, again, I was kind of younger, didn't have a lot of credit, things of that nature, and no one was going to give me a credit limit where I could buy a plane ticket.
And luckily that was before DTS, so you did an old school.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah, before and DTS grew on me later on. So just before I got out, I understood the ways of DTS. But yeah, DTS was a nightmare at the beginning.
So you told us about the first impressions in Biloxi. Tell us about Mountain Home.
So Mountain Home was like nothing I'd ever seen before. It was flat and brown, and I expected there to be mountains, and there were, and they were like very far in the distance. I found out that it was initially called Rattlesnake Station when it was established, and all the streets had numbers because it was an old coal mining town. So that's how they got around the town and what have you. So it was different, and I was trying to prepare my wife for what was to come. But it was hard to explain. It's like, hey, everybody goes to the Walmart because like the mall, everyone is, quiet. It's very rural. And then she flew in the middle of the night, so she didn't see anything, right? So I drove her from the airport to her home, and it's just pitch black. So she doesn't really get to experience it until the next day. And then she's like, what did you get me into?
Did you have a car?
So I purchased my first car just before she arrived. It was a Chevy Cavalier. It was the only thing on the lot they would give me.
Because you're just establishing your credit.
Right, exactly.
Now, how did you go by finding a place to live?
So that was funny as well. So it was me and my wife kind of working it out over the phone, where she would, look up ads and things of that nature and find things that were in our budget. Because at the time, I want to say an E3 was making like 700 and some change. in pay. So we found a home. It was a half. It was like, I can't remember the address, but it was like let's say 321 and a half southwest east or something like that. And come to find out that it was the landlord's. He converted like garages into homes, and he was renting them out to airmen. So that's why we didn't have real addresses.
But it was still a good place to live.
It was. So and we really got to you know, learn each other very quickly, because it's the first time we're away from our homes, first time we lived together. And so it's basically a 1 bedroom with a kitchen, 1 door, and 1 window. And yeah, and then tumbleweed blowing by in the distance.
And so she is now getting acclimated to Air Force life and going on base and shopping
Right.
and that, right? Was she done with school, or did she work when she got out there?
So initially she was already in school. So when I was going to ECC, she was going to DUFL college, also in Buffalo. So it was a matter of transferring to Boise State and kind of like figuring out, you know, where in the while things were settling, where to work and things of that nature. So I think at the time she's working at the daycare, I want to say. And then, you know, she started at Boise with the big Smurf turf, right, the blue field. And she started to go to school there. But ultimately, again, I PCS'd again and then had to transfer again. So a lot of her having to start and stop her career early on through, you know, the rest of my career.
Yeah, a lot of challenges.
Yes, exactly. So
Right.
again, very supportive.
I was going to ask, were you attached to a squadron at Mountain Home?
Yes. So I was a member of the 726 Air Control Squadron. So Hard Rock was our nickname. And there I was data maintenance, working on, we call them UTCs, so unit type codes for deployable packages. So this one was the ANTYQ-23 Alpha, or Tactical Air Operations Module. So this thing was attached to my career field, and I had no training on it. So what they would do, because there were so few air control squadrons in the military, is they would send you back to Keesler. So you would be assigned to the air control squadron. When I arrived there, they were actually in Afghanistan supporting the mission there. So I'm there for training and waiting for my team to come back for reconstitution. And I'm learning this tactical air operations module while I'm there. And then they send me back to Keesler for more advanced training. And then I think that was like maybe 2 months on how this thing works, right? Like, kind of think air traffic control in a box. It's there for the integration of voice and radar, as well as battlefield management. So they're identifying friend and foe. They know where the Patriot batteries are at. They have an eye on fighters, troops in combat, things of that nature. It was their job. I think they're called 3 Charlie 5s or something like that. I can't remember the career field, but that was what they did, and I supported them by working on the equipment. So we had ground radar, we had UHF in the box, fiber optics, and just think of retro looking equipment, right? Like you think of like Aliens movie, or you think of like retro future. That's what it looked like when you entered the box at the time. But it was a definite learning experience, and they were networked together, right? So you would learn how to, maintain the box, maintain the radar equipment, how the crypto inside of it worked, and then you would then go into how these things network together, how they work together, how the telephones work. So it was a lot of my training all put together, but in really retro looking package.
But it sounds like a very complex system.
It was, yeah. Some people really, really learn the equipment. Like they were like one with the box, right? They can go in there and hear it and know what it was doing. I was, I enjoyed the work, but I want to work on something a lot more high tech.
And they were coming back from a deployment. My guess is you had the opportunity to do some maintenance, long maintenance, deep maintenance on these units that had been deployed. Is that right?
Yes. And so the different ACSs took our own equipment out there. So we took it with us, right? So we worked on it, we trained on it, we knew our gear, and then it would be in the back of a C-130 with us as we entered. We went to Balad, Iraq, when they came back. So they did Afghanistan, and then when they came back, we trained, reconstituted, and then I went with them to Balad, Iraq in 2005. I think it was May to December of 2005. And work the gear in actual theater.
And what was that deployment experience like?
Interesting, right? So when we're doing the training, we're doing field exercises. Like we're still doing that old school where you're digging trenches, you're digging hasties, right? You're putting up perimeter wire, and in this case, we're flying in to an established base where you have 30,000 Army on the perimeter of this base. And then we're, nestled in the middle of it near the air control tower. So we're trained for outside the wire, and then in this case, when we got in theater, we were inside the wire. So it was a different experience. But I learned a lot.
You mentioned when you went to San Antonio, the heat was intense.
Yes.
What time of year did you get to Iraq?
Oh, we arrived in May. I want to say. I think it was either April or May, and then we left in December. So it was. I always say I will never forget the smell of hot rocks. Like everything, like all the rocks are white because they're bleached white by the sun. It just smells like just sand and heat at all times, and it's just a different beast, right? You have like sandstorms blow in. They look like blizzards, except for they hurt your eyes. And then it was during the time where they had lots of burn pits and things of that nature. So we called it the trash fog. So you'd wake up in the morning and it would have settled down on us after they burned all night or whatever. So we'd go to the top of these things called hazes, right? They were like bunkers that were built by the Iraqis, but we took over the base. We used to sit on top of that and just wait for it to dissipate. So, you'd wake up kind of coughing and have to escape the trash fog.
And you were okay with heights at that point?
So it wasn't that high, like maybe 20 feet off the ground. So it wasn't like the telephone pole height, which I never got adjusted to. Because later on I worked with the cable dogs and I'm not climbing that. It's not going to happen.
This deployment was with the air control squadron from Mountain Home.
Yes.
How many were in your unit, and what was that unit like?
So it was a couple hundred of us, I want to say, and then about half of us would leave, because there was a CONUS mission as well that they used the boxes for. So we'd take about half with us, another half would stay, and they would continue to do their training and their mission in the U.S. So you deployed with people you knew, right? So I think out of all the people who left, like maybe one person was a person we didn't know because they had to rotate in to replace a person. So they had to backfill. But everyone else, you already established a relationship with in Idaho, and then you went to Iraq with them. So that was pretty cool because you already knew the people. You already had the camaraderie built in. It was just you're in a new environment.
And you'd been training on this equipment for what, a year and a half?
Yes.
By the time you deployed?
Yes, by the time I deployed.
So did you feel comfortable in your technical ability while you were deployed managing the equipment?
Yes, I would say so. Again, I wasn't the best with the gear because it was, I'm younger, a lack of discipline, a lack of interest. So I can get the thing powered up, I can get the thing, running. But you had people who were like really passionate about the equipment. So having that mix, I think, really strengthened the team. Because if I couldn't figure something out, there's plenty of experts. You'd be like, okay, what is it doing? Why is it not doing what I want it to do? And then we work it from there. But now I think that huge box probably sits on a desk somewhere, like because of over time it being modernized. Like I don't think they have to go out with those huge. I think they're called 530 shelters at the time.
So you're deployed. You've been in almost 2 years. Your wife's back in Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
What are you thinking about the Air Force?
Oh, so initially I came in to get the GI Bill, go to school, and I've have some school, right? Like I'm working towards my community college of the Air Force associates, right? My CCAF, and I think it was applied electronics or electronic systems, I think is what it was called. So I'm working towards that, and I newlywed, and we have a little one on the way. So I'm just ready to get back home, right? To spend time with my wife and prepare for our daughter to be born. And like I'm really enjoying it, right? Like I'm in the best shape of my life, like because all we did was eat. Like the dining facility was crazy. It was steak and lobster, and I'm in the gym, right? After hours, so I'm like in really great shape and just ready to move on to the next assignment. Because again, I wanted something that was a little bit more technology forward, and I wanted to see the world, right? So I have my dream sheet's nothing but Japan, nothing but Germany. I'm ready to go to the next big thing, and I put Alaska on the dream sheet. So just before it's time to leave that assignment, I find out that I'm going to Alaska to Elmendorf Air Force Base.
Where you would later connect with one of your early classmates, right?
Right, exactly. So I'm leaving with one of my coworkers because he also has an assignment to Elmendorf. So him and I are going to PCS around the same time, and then about I want to say because I was there for 4 years, so probably 2 years in is when I saw my friend's name pop up on the assignment list. He was coming to us, so I was like, okay. So, but that assignment again, great, right? So we fly from Idaho to Alaska. And once you get past the first winter in Alaska, you're okay. The first winter, though, it's rough.
What's your wife's name?
Shamir.
So, what was it like when you told Shamir you're going to Alaska?
She was like, okay. But she had a great time. Again, once you get past that first winter, but it was our we had a little bit more freedom. I would say I put on senior airman just before arriving, so I had a little bit more rank, I had a little bit more income coming in. The schedule was a little bit better, right? Because I'm not doing a bunch of field exercises. I'm not gone for weeks. It's established, right? It's an NSA campus. We don't really deploy from there, so we know I'm going to be there for 4 years. I'm going to do my job. It's more of a 9 to 5. Even though I work multiple shifts, right? Like as you transition, because it's 24-hour operations. We met lifelong friends there, so we have friends that we still communicate with today. He's just about to retire, actually, and like bought our first home. Bought at the wrong time. We bought just before the bus, 2007. So we bought a townhome. So we have our own space, and we have our daughter, and then we have our son on the way. So it's like I'm having a baby every state.
Your daughter was born in Idaho?
My daughter was born in Idaho, and then Ryan Jr. was born in Alaska.
Did any of your extended family ever come visit you in Idaho or Alaska?
So my mother-in-law visited us in both. So my mother-in-law and then my brother-in-law in Idaho. So he was maybe 10 or 11. So he's much younger than my wife. And then when we moved to Alaska, my mother-in-law visited us in Alaska as well. So she came up there. Again, like she's just like, it's freezing here. And to us, we're in shorts. It's like 40. It's a heat wave today.
But that makes sense that the mother-in-law would come because you had the grandbabies.
Right, exactly.
And tell us about the town of Elmendorf, the base is Elmendorf. What's the town?
Anchorage. So Elmendorf is in Anchorage. So it's not considered by, like if you go up to Fairbanks to the North Pole people, that's real Alaskan quotation marks, right? But it's still negative. It can get to negative 40 in Anchorage. But no, it's a really tight community. Everybody is super nice. We don't live that far from the base, so it's very easy to get to and from the base. I think we live like maybe 10 minutes away. So it's really like we're right by the gate, and we're starting to get a little bit more at least from my perspective, starting to get a little bit more like not civilian, but more freedom, right? It's not as locked down as Idaho was because there's a bunch of A1Cs running around. You have to kind of corral them to make sure they don't make terrible mistakes. So in Alaska, it was a little bit more mature. They treated us a little bit more like adults, and it was a good time. My wife transferred to the university up there, and then I began to go to school for my bachelor's in social psychology, because I was like, I'm not going to go do computer science again. So I was like, what did I like? Where were my best grades? And I found out it was my sociology classes, my psychology classes. So I decided to pursue that as my degree, and learned a lot. Right, it helps you with communication skills and kind of figure out how people tick and things of that nature. So even though I don't really use that degree, I still use the things I learned from it till this day. And yeah, I had a great time. I only went on a couple of TDYs back to the States for more training, right? More, I think I went to a TCP/IP class to learn a little bit more about networking, as well as I did a Solaris class where I went to, so the TCP/IP one was in Yakima, Washington. So I don't know if you ever see the camper tops on top of people's car called Yakima. That's where it's from, right? So we went there for that training, and then I went down to Fort Huachuca in Arizona for the Solaris class, so learning about Unix and Linux for the specific equipment we had there. And then I went to Point Burrow, Alaska. So I went to the top of Alaska for a TDY as well to work on some gear. And that's the part of Alaska where the sun may not set for a long time. So I was there, and the sun just kept going from left to right of my trailer. But amazing. Like I had a great time. Rode my first snowmobile, called them snow machines up there. Saw a polar bear, right? Stuff like that. Like it was great.
Did the family like Alaska? Did y'all?
They did. So my daughter can kind of remember it a little bit, right? She was pretty young when we left. She was like 5 when we left Alaska. So we felt terrible. So we get to Virginia. And, it's a regular day, and she's like, she looks very anxious. We're like, what's wrong? She was like, where did the sun go? And thinking about it, like, okay, yeah, we left when it was like sun all the time. So she's just like, what is this night thing that's happening? So it was funny now, but at the time we were like, oh, poor baby.
Hey, what happened to your Chevy that you had in Idaho?
So we took it with us. So it made it to Alaska, and it made it to Virginia. Yeah. So, and then in Virginia is when I traded out. We got a Nissan Altima when we got to Virginia, but it made it several different PCSs.
You flew to Alaska. Did the Air Force ship your vehicle?
Yes. Yeah. They shipped all of our gear. We wanted to drive, but I was like, I don't think this thing's going to make it through the Yukon. Like, I don't want to chance it. So we flew, and then we waited at the port. They brought in the car and all of our household goods and things of that nature.
And you got orders to Virginia.
Yes.
Were you at Langley?
Yes. So I was at Langley. So leaving Alaska, again, I was trying to get to PACOM. I was trying to get to the Pacific. So I put down all of Japan, and then I was like worldwide short tour Korea. And that is supposed to be the trigger. Like, okay, you're going to Korea. And then near the end of my tour, they were like, Korea's full. I was like, what? They're like, either you can go to Georgia or you can go to Virginia. So you'd either go to the 5th Mob in Georgia, or you would go to the Network Operations Center in Langley. And, I'd done the Fort Mobility thing. So I kind of knew what that was. And it was kind of exciting. But I was like, I really want to go to the Air Force's Network Operations Squadron, right? Because I would be in control of the base boundaries of 120 different locations. So I was like, definitely Langley. So we PCS to Langley, and I was there for 5 years. Great time. Like I loved it.
5 years. That's amazing. And 4 years in Alaska?
Yes, 4 years in Alaska.
All right. So we got it back all the way up to Idaho. Is that when you did your first re-enlistment?
So my first reenlistment was in Alaska. So because I came in for 6 year enlistee because I wanted the bonus, and I spent the bonus on my wife's wedding ring. So
It's a good choice.
right,
So, who did your first re-enlistment? Do you remember?
my first reenlistment in Alaska was a captain. I cannot remember her name, but I do keep in touch with her on LinkedIn. Sparingly, she got married and changed her name, but so I'm not big into. I'm big into other people's pomp and circumstance, not my own. So I hypocritical, right? Like I like we're gonna do something big for you when this happens, and then for me, I snuck away. So I got her, I caught her off guard. I brought the paperwork to her, and I was like, hey, I need to reenlist. And she was like, oh, okay, well let's get to the schedule of the thing. I was like, I was told I have an hour. So I reenlisted in her office. It was just us and a witness. And she told me this funny story about when she joined the military, she worked in a magnet factory and how all of that stuff, like, I don't know, like she tied it together. You know how officers do. Like she tied that story into the reenlistment, and it was cool. It was a cool experience. And then I reenlisted for another 4 years at that time.
And that got you through into your next tour in Langley.
Right. Exactly. And then I did the same thing at Langley. I caught my first lieutenant off guard. I was like, hey, I need to reenlist. And he reenlisted me in the break room.
So what does that say about you? That you would help everyone else, and they would re-enlist in exotic places or in front of the entire formation, and you would just, in a quiet place, just have
I
a quiet moment.
Yeah, I don't like a lot of attention on me, right? Like and obviously, like we'll talk about the podcast and all that other stuff. I I if it's going to help someone else, then yes. But if it's just for me, because even to include my last my retirement ceremony, very small. I was like, I don't want to do anything humongous. But yeah, I just like I appreciate everyone wanting to attend and to be there and what have you. But like it's just you know it's Tuesday. Let's just keep it rolling.
All right, so now you and the family are in Langley, Virginia. You got the wife and two kids. This is the closest you've been to New York since you joined the Air Force.
Right.
Was it easy to travel home for vacation and holidays?
So I actually traveled less from Virginia to Buffalo. I traveled more because it was earlier in my career from Idaho to Buffalo. So we would take those long drives. I think it was like 22 hours round trip to and from. So we would drive that Chevy Cavalier to and from Buffalo from Idaho. So and again, like now I'm a staff. I have a little bit more, money. Let's fly home. So we flew home a couple of times. And I think we drove twice, but I was like, I don't. The turn and burns are just is a bit much. And then we have kids now, right? So you have to make sure you stop for them and things of that nature. And then near the end of that tour, we had our youngest son Mason. So again, third state, third child. But that was it, and we're done.
And where did you live?
So in Virginia, we initially lived on base. So there's a lot of really cool historical housing they have on Langley, and it's directly across the street from the flight line. So I had a view of the flight line. It wasn't as noisy as you would think because they didn't, they just taxied there. But like if we had like air shows or fireworks, we just sit out on our lawn and then enjoy the festivities. Like I really enjoyed that base. And then when we had, we didn't have enough room. So we moved in, we had another child. So then they were like, okay, you won't get another room unless you PCS or something like that. So what we did was we moved off base into a home for about a year and a half. And then we moved into the new base housing because now we had kind of reset our clock. And they had off base housing, brand new, beautiful homes that were maybe 10 minutes from the gate. So then we lived there. And it was great. Like Yorktown's amazing. city and the school district was amazing, right? They had all like A+ schools, so the kids were going to those schools. Great facilities, like the youth center and things of that nature. My wife was working full time as a general manager of a wellness center that was nearby as well. So like firing all cylinders. And then again, I'm at a very technologically forward squadron, right? Like we control all of the base boundaries. We're modernizing them. A lot of really cool gear. We controlled 500 devices. We had 845,000 users that we supported. And like I'm getting my first certifications. I just finished my degree. I was getting my certification in my first certification was a Cisco certification, so CCNA. So I got that. Finished my degree in psychology, and then I was really like everything was perfect, but I was like, I really want to do something cool. Before, like I'm at that in between, like that middle part, right? It's like, okay, because I'm going to re-enlist because I'm enjoying my time. My family loves it as well. But now I want to do something cool. So I saw an advertisement for the Joint Communication Support Element, JCSE. And I was like, these are the cool guys, right? Like, it's the comm guys for hire. They support all the co-coms, the 3-letter agencies, all the task force. I was like, I want to do that. So I uprooted the whole family very selfishly. And we PCS to MacDill Air Force Base. And yeah, again, I'm in great shape because they're running us. We're doing like a 5K every day, like miles and miles a week, like at least 12 miles a week of running. And it's a joint force assignment that's also airborne unit. So like we got like Navy guys and Marines jump out of planes, and we have like all the newest technology that we're integrating into the different services. I was able to actually leave the country, right? So still, they put me on team 2. So we have different areas of responsibility, right? So team 1 is Indo-PACOM. So that portion of the world, that's when I was really shooting for. So I'm going to get to Japan. And then team 2 is UCOM and AFRICOM. And then team 3 is CENTCOM, SOCOM, right? So you're back in the sandbox probably. So I was like, I don't want to do team 3. A really good friend of mine that I keep in touch with today, a really good mentor of mine, Jeff Lodick, he was from Buffalo. He heard I was from Buffalo. I did my whole speech about the capabilities I brought and what I could do. And he was like, okay, I'm going to hire you. He was team 2. So you come AFRICOM. And I'm not sad about it at all. Like I got to live in Germany and Sicily for a year. I got to go to Morocco and to Israel several times over, Amsterdam. Like I was all over the place. Took my wife to Paris because I was already in Germany. Like it was an amazing assignment. And I got to work for some really cool organizations and saw amazing things. So I thoroughly enjoyed it.
This is the travel opportunities you were looking for when you first walked into that recruiter's office.
Exactly. And this was 2015 to 2020. So I spent a quarter of my career in this. I was like, I don't ever want to leave. And they're like, but you have to leave.
This is also your first joint command.
Yes.
Now, on your deployment, you had been around other services, but the Army was doing security, but at the end of the day, you went back to your Air Force unit.
Right, exactly. And this was all folded in. So like the guy who hired me, Jeff Lodick, like he was a Army Master Sergeant, right? So he's like the guy who's in charge. And then I have a Marine captain who's over us. Our unit commander at the time was Army, and then it rotated to Air Force, then it rotated to the Marines. So you're getting all these different experiences. One of my closest friends who's on the podcast with me, he's Navy guy, right? So he just separated from the Navy. So I'm getting to all these experiences. You're elevated from just like I was a network transport guy, like switching and routing, to I'm learning all about satellite communications and UHF radio and virtualization of Active Directory and things of that nature. So you're becoming like a full blown Swiss Army knife when it comes to technology, and you're getting to see things that aren't even in the service yet, right? You're getting to prototype them to see if they're, service worthy. Like, will this work for future missions? Like, oh man, I loved it. It was great assignment.
That sounds like challenging work.
Yes, because sometimes you would get something there like, hey, we need you to take this to Germany. And you're like, but what is it? So you had to train on it, learn it, and then you had to go out and do the dog and pony, right? Like, I have to sell this to the service. Like, hey, this does work, and this is how we implement it, or we can integrate it into your environment. So you got to see a lot of really cool technology.
So let's talk about team dynamic, because you'd been part of many Air Force teams, high functioning, everybody most got along for the most part. What was the inter-service rivalry like at that joint command?
Actually wasn't that bad, right? So like when I arrived, it was a healthy mix, right? So like the largest component is when I was there was the Air Force, right? So Air Force handled the budget, right? So the Army loved it because that's money. Like the Air Force is willing to spend money, and then the leadership was Army, so there's a lot more discipline and rigor behind it. And then you have a small contingent of Marines, and they're my favorite people. Because they know how to have fun, and they're very, very much disciplined, but they know how to have a good time. And then I first time working with the Navy and just learning how they do things and how different they are from all the services, but very similar at the same time. So getting to learn how they do business, and they were kind of in charge of the network at the time. So getting to understand how they approach networking when it comes to CONUS and the fleet, and I got to go on ships. It was amazing.
That's cool. Probably Navy ITs and crypto techs.
ITs and ETs.
ETs. Okay. Wow. And just a small group of Marines, but you really only need a few Marines to get the work done.
Right. And they were the HF and UHF masters. Like, Marines still use radio equipment. And they're so used to working on hand-me-downs, right? Like, not in a disparaging way. They just have a really small budget. So whenever the services are decommissioning something, the Marines are very eager to take it in. And because of that, like, they have like a phenomenal understanding of using radio for networking. Like, I was like, you're doing things that I didn't even know we could do with a radio. It's just because they have that discipline. That's what they're exposed to. It's just like, this is amazing.
What did the family think about this move to Tampa?
It was a little jarring at first, right? Because we were so established in Virginia. And I initially felt a lot of guilt because of it, right? Because it was me pursuing my career and wanting to do something, amazing. But then after getting in and getting settled in after a year or two, we found it to be very beneficial. Like, this was like, okay, this is where we can retire. Eventually, this is a good home base. We bought a home just prior to COVID, like months before the COVID lockdown. That's the home that I'm in right now. And, it just took a little while to get reestablished because, again, PCSing is very jarring. But my oldest daughter, she's now a college student. Can't believe she's about to turn 20, right? So she's in at USF for nursing. My wife is gone back to school, so she's pursuing her master's in human resources at USF as well. Junior is a senior in high school, and we're filling out the college applications. He wants to go pre-med. And then our youngest, Mason, he's a whiz when it comes to programming and things of that nature. Like, so for Christmas, he got a laptop and a Python book. That's how engrossed he is in making games and coding. So it was a good move. But yeah, that first year I was like, oh man, I probably should have stayed in Virginia.
And your wife was, managing a wellness store in Virginia. Was she able to find work in Tampa?
So not initially. So that was a bit of a struggle because of the way, again, the economy was different here in Florida. So it took a while for her to get going. But once she did and became established, it's just that, you have certain resources, you have friends, you have a network established. And it's easier for me because I'm going into, an environment where, like, the military functions a certain way. I have a certain rank, certain experience. So it's a little bit harder, or a lot harder, I should say, in the civilian sector, because now you have to say, well, why do you have this gap in your resume? Like, well, because my husband, had to move. and it took a while to get reestablished. So it did take a couple of years to start firing on all cylinders again. But again, my wife's very supportive, and I could not have done any of this without her. And I never made it to Japan to this day.
The deployment schedules out of that command at MacDill, it sounds like a lot. Were they short or long? What was?
So, depending upon your customer. So like my customers, because of my area of responsibility, were SOCOM, CENTCOM, JSOC. So they had very established rhythms. So I knew I was going to go to support this task force out of Sicily for this amount of time, or this task force out of Germany for this amount of time. So there was a really good cadence. And then you'd have your, because it was so many different missions. You'd have your natural disasters and things of that nature would happen. So I would have to, either be a part of the team executing and, after Hurricane Maria or Hurricane Harvey, in support of FEMA and, local disaster recovery, or hater missions, is what they called them. So there was a lot of movement and what have you. But there was a method to the chaos. Like we knew when these things were going to happen. Like you can see a storm, like Cyclone Ida is going to hit Mozambique. So we know, we can kind of predict on how we're going to establish our plans and go from there. And I went from being a member executing as a tech sergeant to I promoted as master sergeant. So then I was in charge of those teams. And then I moved into what's called J35, so the plan shop. And now I'm the planner for Team 2 missions, right? So I'm establishing, contacts with these different commands. I already know what their calendars look like. I know when their exercises are going to happen. Again, the hater missions, we know, hey, this thing's going to happen, right? We can see the hurricane coming. So I had a lot more control of my schedule. And I just tried to also, push that down to my to the troops I was supporting, so they would also have a good battle rhythm as well. So I loved it. It was the best experience. I had all good assignments, and then that was the crown jewel.
It sounds like it, and a lot of great leadership opportunities for you.
Yes, yeah. I tell people, like, if you people who are in the military, like if you want like the dream assignment, you need to go to either JCSE or JCU out of Bragg or White House Com. Like this, they're going to instill a lot of discipline. They're going to be very tech forward. And your network's going to, boom, coming out of it.
Were you able to start mentoring any of the junior troops during this tour, or had you already been doing that?
Oh yeah, it's from like day one, because they put you through a training pipeline when you arrive, because again they have to take you from whatever your specialty is into being a Swiss Army knife, and through that, right, like I have young sailors and soldiers that I get to mentor, and then above me, there's all the other services as well. So it's a really good melting pot. And again, you're learning like, oh, this is how the Army does business, and this is why it makes sense, and this is how they care and feed and discipline their troops, and that's how the Army or the Air Force does it, and the Navy. And so you're getting a lot of extra tools to your tool belt that I think really helps when you go back to your service. You're like, okay, I've learned all these other tools that I can implement to get the mission done.
What mentors had an impact on you throughout your career?
Oh man, countless. I would say in Idaho, because again, like just brand new airmen, I had a lot of really good leadership that kept us out of harm's way, right? Because there's nothing to do in Idaho. It's flat, it's brown, so it's a lot of mischief could happen. So they were really good at keeping us together. Lots of cookouts and get-togethers and like getting that camaraderie, but also keeping you like we didn't see it, but keeping you nearby, so they can work with you to make sure that you're fully established. But then coming out of there in Alaska, again different environment, but I had like Sergeant Gaylord, Sergeant Davidson, like these the old crusty master sergeants, that were able to mold you and to get you prepared for leadership opportunities because I came in as lower enlisted, and I'm working my way up to being a leader. And then in Virginia, I have like oh man, so many people. Sergeant Tynes, Sergeant Albert, Master Sergeant Jackson. Like these are people who saw something in me because I came in there and I was just not just, but you come in there and you're on the operations floor and you're controlling these base boundaries and this equipment, and you go from that transition to, okay, I have a little bit, like now I'm in charge of the row, right? Like I'm in charge of this shift and make sure that things are happening and being executed properly. And then Sergeant Jackson got promoted, so they were like, hey, you're the only eligible NCO, so you're in charge of all of infrastructure. So they're having that mentorship to both peer and above, to like, okay, you've gone from leading 5 airmen to now you're in charge of a shop of 33 airmen, 11 contractors, and the base bound like 120 different bases, right? Like, so that's a huge shift. And it's crazy that they allow teenagers to execute on $1 million equipment, and they allow early 20-year-olds to be in charge of people who are in these humongous missions, right? Like billions of dollars of equipment that we're in charge of, making decisions to make sure things are maintained properly and that missions aren't impacted because the network went down. So like it was amazing. Then same thing when I arrived at JCSC. Now you're in charge of different services. Like how do they think? How do they react? How do you utilize, those skills that they have to then execute missions for the, tier 1 task force and so on. So no fail missions. Amazing.
Tremendous opportunities.
Yes, exactly. And then I PCS to Interlick, so I was Geo Bachelor for 2 years, and I finally went to my first comm squadron. So I got to learn how those bases that I was, overseeing their boundaries, how does it work on the inside? And just, it was an amazing experience as well. And a lot of really good mentorship, as I prepared to eventually, retire.
How many years did you have when you left MacDill and went to Turkey?
I was at 18, so just shy of 18.
And you had made Master Sergeant?
Yes. So I made Master Sergeant, and I want to say it's either my 3rd or 4th time up for senior. So I retired as a Master Sergeant, so I did not make senior Master Sergeant. I think I missed it. Oh man, I was just in that grouping. Like the Air Force does it weird, but I was just in that grouping that missed it, and I for several years, I was just like, oh, it doesn't look like I'm gonna. Like if I stay in long enough, I might make the next rank. But I have a daughter that's about to go to college, a son that's about to go to college. I want to get home to my wife because I've been, out of the 700 and some odd days, I was home for maybe 70. So like, a tenth of the time I was in Turkey. So I was ready to transition and retire coming out of Interlick.
That makes sense. And geographical bachelor tours are difficult.
Yes, very much so.
You must have re-enlisted a 3rd time before all this.
So I did. I re-enlisted at JCSC again. I think I did it in the Bay, and they made me find people to attend. So it was like 10 people. And it was when the Air Force went to indefinite re-enlistment. So you could just re-enlist this last time, and then you can serve the rest of your time. So I did that at JCSC, and yeah, like it was before COVID. So so I could, if it was during COVID, I could have slid through and did it by myself. But they were like, no, you will have people, and you will do it, and in front of the people. So I grabbed people I'd worked with. I grabbed people who supported my missions, or I supported their missions, and we had like a little gathering, and I re-enlisted for the last time.
Well, I'm glad your last one, you had people around you.
Right. Same thing with retirement. They're like, my chief at the time, he was like, you will not get your retirement certificate unless you do a ceremony. So I had my shop, as well as people I've met from my time in Incirlik and brought them together. So it was like maybe a room of 15 people, 15, 20 people.
That's meaningful, though. Don't tell me you just wanted to go to your chief and get your retirement certificate from his office.
I did. I had everything. Like I was like, I planned it perfectly. I filled out all the applications. I had everything ready. And when he received it, he was like, I'm not getting this to you unless you do something. I was like, all
So
right.
there's a picture of you getting a retirement certificate at a ceremony.
Yes, there is. He got me.
All those trips you had taken, you visiting other bases, Sicily, Germany, you weren't stationed there. You were just, on temporary duty. Now you're at Incirlik Air Base in Turkey, and you're stationed there for what, 2 years?
Right. So initially, just the 1 year tour. But I arrived there just after COVID. So it was October of 2020. And so full lockdown. So you arrive at the terminal, go to your hotel room, do not pass go for 2 weeks. So we'll bring you food, but you're not gonna potentially give us COVID. So and that's where I kind of established the podcast. So because I was trapped in the hotel room 2 weeks, right, going crazy. So I called up my friends and we established our podcast. But initially, it was just supposed to do a year. Now I was supposed to either come back to JCSC or go to Patrick and support the space mission over there. But it was before the Space Force, right? The Space Force wouldn't exist for another 2 months after I arrived. So then about midway through my year tour is when I got a phone call from my sponsor at Patrick, and he was a Guardian. And he was like, hey, you're a Guardian, right? And I was like, no, no one has asked me to become one. And he was like, you're going to get a phone call from the chief. The chief called me and she said, I'm sorry, all these billets have been converted to Guardian billets. You got to go somewhere else. Where do you want to go? And I was like, JCSC. She was like, well, where else? I was like, well, I want to stay in Florida. So she was like, okay. So then I got a call. I was going to the combat comm unit out of Herbert. So, and I was like, oh man, I had a daughter going to college, a son preparing to go to college. My wife is going to go pursue her graduate degree. I was like, I cannot do that lifestyle again, even though it's super cool and I know I would enjoy it. I was like, I got to hit the button. So I hit the button and they extended me for another year. So I would be at my 20 years to retire.
Completely understand all the dynamics, and it's not an easy choice.
No, I really enjoyed my time in the military. And like just the camaraderie and the be able to mentor and be mentored. Like I would have kept going. However, right, like I miss my family. You've missed birthdays, you've missed holidays, you've missed graduations. I was like, I really want to, be there for my children, crossing over into college and adulthood. So I had to get back home.
And I'm guessing when you travel now, you have your own laptop. You can FaceTime international plans with a cell phone.
Right.
Much
easier to communicate. Yeah. So I talked with my wife every day through FaceTime the kids. Even the youngest, he had an iPad, right? So he would call me randomly, FaceTime with him, and just it. Couldn't really enjoy Turkey at the onset again because of COVID lockdown, and the Incirlik is pretty locked down in general. But that second year is when they started to open up more and people could then travel. So I saw a few places. Yeah, I went to Ankara and Keesler and I can't remember all the names, but I did a little bit of traveling. Saw what Turkey had to offer, and it was a really cool place with really nice people.
Did you live on base?
Yes. So you had no choice, and our base. So Incirlik, you have to live on base. There's some other sites where they get to live off because there's not really a base there established. Like they live in hotels and things of that nature. But Incirlik is an established base, and everyone lives on base. So I actually lived in a 3-family unit because they have to, because there used to be families there, so you have to maintain the housing, right? So people have to occupy it. So junior enlisted, the I think up to E4, they all live in the barracks, the dormitories, and then staffs they pair up, and then techs, I think, pair up, and then master sergeants get their own place and above, just so they can maintain those houses.
So you had your own family housing apartment.
I did. It was, and you think that would be cool, but it was even lonelier. Right, hearing your voice bounce off the walls.
Right, like what furniture did you just have a chair and a table and a bed?
Yeah, it came with a kitchen table, a couch, a coffee table, and an entertainment stand to put your TV, and then obviously a bed in the bedroom. So my first year, I made it into an apartment. I took the desk upstairs. I kind of lived out of my bedroom, and then that second year, I was like, I gotta start venturing out of, and at least in my own home. So I moved the desk back downstairs. I, started to use more of the house. But yeah, just it's a very somber, environment. Like you're like, I can't wait to get home.
It was a 1 year tour initially. Were these unaccompanied orders?
Yes. And there is no, so I think if you go to, oh man, where's the other? I think there's a unit in Ankara. I can't remember, but in Adana, where I was at, in Incirlik, there's no family still because of the coup that took place. I think they're just trying to get back to bringing in vehicles because you don't have a vehicle either. So they're trying to get back to bringing in vehicles and then eventually bringing in families.
So how did you get around the base and how did you get around town?
So for the base, you either rent a car or you rent a scooter. So I had like a little scooter moped type situation. So I rented that. And then I eventually bought one because I was like, I'll be here for 2 years. So I buy one, I could resell it, right? Which I did. And that was my to and from vehicle, right? I would scoot to work, back home. And then when it came to leaving the base, you would find someone with a car, and, make those road trips, when you, had the opportunity to.
You got a scooter, you had to take the motorcycle safety course, right?
I did. And it did not work. I fell off that thing several times. And it's only doing 18. It's as fast as it can go. I was like, I will never own a motorcycle. I'll never do it. I'm too clumsy.
But they are very convenient.
Very convenient, especially grabbing groceries or having to go on a quick errand. Like it was much better than, because it's hot. It's still Turkey. The climate is very similar to Florida. So you don't want to, have to walk a mile or two if you don't have to.
And probably due to COVID, the family wasn't able to visit at all. Is that right?
Even past COVID, like there's no coming in to, like you'd have to visit them somewhere outside of the area. They would have to meet you in Ankara or somewhere else.
And you said out of the 1,000 whatever days, you got to come home for 70.
Yes. Yeah, because you have to save up for your terminal because that, I had to make sure I had that buffer. But also it from door to door, it was like 34 hours. So it took a lot out of you, which it was worth it. But, it would take days to recover from the trip.
Right. And not just it's different time zones too.
Yes. Yeah. I think I was 8 hours in the future or something like that. Something where my morning was the family's, evening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's tough to manage the distance.
Absolutely. Like I think that was again, a great assignment. I met a lot of really great people and mentors, but I think it was the toughest assignment for me, being separated from my family for so long, as well as just the environment, right? Because you were really locked down pretty tight. So leaving during COVID didn't help at all. And then even after COVID, after those restrictions were lifted, you're still, kind of trapped on site.
And so starting that tour with a quarantine in a motel room, you came up with the idea for a podcast. Tell us about that.
Yes. So thank you for asking. It's called The Other Side of the Firewall. So initially started, again, I wanted to connect with friends and start talking with them. But it was also because I was talking to, because I was nearing retirement, even though I wasn't thinking about retirement, right? Retirement age. So I had a lot of friends that were going into cybersecurity, going into IT, and they're like, outside of the military, there's not a lot of people of color, there's not a lot of women. So you might want to start establishing your network now. So I used the podcast as a way of not only establishing a network, which has grown pretty significantly, but also gaining contact with people who, have similar backgrounds to me, have, people of color, veterans, career switchers, like finding those people and then kind of figuring out like, how did this work for you? How did you make this transition? Again, not knowing that I would be making that transition a couple years later. But we grew from a very small podcast to we have almost 900 episodes. It's syndicated, so we're on WDJY 99.1 FM in the Atlanta metro area, and simulcast on the TuneIn app, and we have over 24,000 listeners each week. So yeah, it kind of grew over time, right? Over the 5 years I established it, and from it, I've kind of grown a LLC, which is service disabled veteran owned small business that does cyber consultancy, as well as I have the media arm being the podcast. And now I released a book this past July, same title, right, where I took the stories of 26 people of color, women, veterans, career switchers, and neurodivergent professionals, and showed how they broke into cybersecurity and how the audience can do the same, or how you can help those who are trying to break into cybersecurity. And again, I released it in July, so it's kind of grown into this thing where I'm trying to establish myself again, add value, bring value to the community, and help people cross over because it's a tough transition.
That is fascinating.
I appreciate
I'm
it.
so glad you were able to get that started from the hotel room.
Right. Yeah, it was just I had Anchor at the time, so I just used my phone. It was all audio, and then we found out how awkward that was, right? When you can't see people, so we transitioned to Zoom, and then from Zoom we transitioned to Riverside, just because it's great tool set. And then so we started as myself, my co-host Shannon Tynes. He's also retired Air Force. He retired like a year before I retired. Really good friend of ours who also worked, like we were all from Langley, even though I started in Interlick. Levon Maynard, so he's his mom's Army veteran, his wife's current active duty officer in the Air Force. Together we brought in different dynamics of cybersecurity. So I was the governance risk and control guy. Shannon's the information security system officer. Levon was the cloud architect, and we just told our stories. We talk about events as they happen, kind of in real time. Like if the internet issues, like when Azure had issues or AWS had issues. When CrowdStrike took down the airlines, like we talk about those current events, and then just get to share that with the audience, and hopefully break it down to a level where people understand. Since then, time zone varies, so me and Shannon are still doing it, but we've added Chris Abakan. He's a Navy veteran. And he, brings in his consulting skills. Daniel Acevedo, he's also from Langley, so there's a lot of Langley connection in there as well. So I met Chris at JCSE, but Daniel I met at Langley as well, and he's cybersecurity guy. He's in Japan now, so it's kind of hard with his time zone. But as people are available, we do it on a weekly basis.
And I love that those connections you made in the middle of your career, you were able to reconnect and create something meaningful like this.
Oh, absolutely. Like, so the military community is just awesome. Like the friendships you make, the bonds, and then how you can just not talk to each other because of busy or on the other side of the world, and then when you see each other again, it's just you reconnect, and it's family. It's awesome.
It really is. It is family. Now, I want to talk about your transition out of Turkey, out of the Air Force, but I do have one question for you because, your mom told you which recruiters to go to.
Right.
You've done an entire Air Force career and a lot of joint work. Let's say one of your children or one of your friends' kids is thinking about joining the military. What would you say to them And which recruiter would you send them to?
Coast Guard. No, I'm just playing. No, so I've worked with them in Alaska. Like they're awesome too. But I'm always going to have a bias towards the Air Force because just the quality of living. But after working with all the services, like you're all getting amazing training, you're all making amazing bonds. Promotions actually quicker in other services than it is in the Air Force. So I would say you can go to any service and you can excel and you can do really well. But I would still lean towards Air Force for quality of life. We spend more money on our personnel.
Absolutely. I wish I had joined the Air Force.
Well, now I wish I had joined the Coast Guard. Like talking to those guys, they live in life. They're like, yeah, I deployed to Puerto Rico. I'm like,
All right. So you had an actual retirement ceremony, forced into it, but I'm glad you had one.
right.
Now, normally when you retire, you're at a base in CONUS stateside, and it's very easy to connect with all these transition classes and training. What was it like doing this from Turkey?
Rough. So, and Interlake does, like, again, they're doing their best with what they have, but it's such isolated base. They can't do like the VA examinations and things of that nature. TAPS was good, but, again, because of the lockdown situation, like when I did TAPS, we had just got hit with another, wave of COVID. So I did my TAPS from my base housing, and I had to, zoom into the one that was happening on base. And I wasn't the only one, right? It's a small population. We're all in close to each other and you can't really go anywhere else. So when it came time to do the screenings, they were like, hey, we don't have that here. So, cause people don't retire from here. So if you want to do it, you have to go up to Germany, but it's on your own dime, right? I couldn't really negotiate a way of getting up there. There was no need to TDY or anything like that. So I didn't want to spend the leave or the money because I'm preparing to retire. So they said, okay, well, you're going back down to MacDill, so they can handle it. You'll be fine. Then when I arrived at MacDill, they're like, you're not assigned here. So I had to wait to do my examinations till after my retirement. But luckily, there's a very strong community down here for veterans where I was able to quickly, knock them out and get my ratings and all that good stuff after the transition. But yeah, it was pretty difficult. And then when it came to doing my skill bridge, I did one with a local company called Spathe. Real cool. They work for all the cool guys, right? Their leadership is a bunch of people I supported when I was active duty. So that was cool. But unfortunately it didn't have work for me. So I had to luckily pivot to 4 Block is another kind of like a Hiring Our Heroes and so forth. So I pivoted to 4 Block after my retirement because of a suggestion from Jeff Lodick. So he's down here as well. Still, he's retired, and he's a course instructor. So he said, hey, go to 4 Block. We'll expose you to a bunch of civilian companies as well. And then maybe that'll be your path forward since you can't necessarily get into contracting right now. And through that, I became established. I became more confident. I was able to interview better, taking those skills, and I was able to find a civilian company that did data privacy out of Georgia. So they took a risk on me, right? Because again, it's not apples to apples when it comes to what we do in the military versus what people do in the private sector. But after interviewing with the guy who would become my boss, Steve Haley, a Marine veteran, he understood what I had done and what I could do, and what I had an aptitude for, and I was able to get my foot in the door, which then set me up for several jobs later. So I worked for them for a while. I learned a lot about consulting, how to apply the skills I learned in the military when it came to IT and cybersecurity, and perform assessments and do tabletop exercises and like really go full tilt into cybersecurity in the private sector. And then I moved over to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, which I really enjoyed. It was like going full circle because I grew up in public housing, right? So to be able to go back and protect it, great job. So I worked for the Office of the Chief Information Officer as a federal contractor on the independent verification and validation team, the IV&V team. So I made sure that those contracts that were supporting HUD were doing their due diligence, were implementing the proper security standards and things of that nature, and then I can consult to up those things if necessary. But unfortunately, the whole Doge thing happened. The contract was killed. So then I pivoted. Luckily, again, my network, right? So a friend of mine, Chris Jones, chief I worked for, knew another chief, Tori Hickson, who worked for Discover, and he was looking to establish a team. He needed a cybersecurity guy. So I interviewed with him again, setting the groundwork for what I was capable of doing for a bank. And I transitioned to Fortune, I think they're Fortune 500, company in finance. So I'm doing a principal technology risk manager. And then we were recently absorbed by Capital One. They bought us. So now I work for a Fortune 100 company doing cybersecurity risk management and applying those skills I learned in the military for the financial sector. I believe cybersecurity is national security. So whether I'm working for a defense contractor or for a for-profit institute, as long as I'm protecting people, I still feel I'm accomplishing that national security mission. So I love it.
That is a fantastic transition story, and I'm so glad you're able to leverage your network. A moment ago you talked about maybe that second or third gig after getting out, they took a risk on you, and the boss was a Marine. So what did it mean to you that you didn't have to translate everything Air Force into civilian speak because you were working for a veteran?
It's leaps and bounds. When it came to, because when I initially started talking to people, they're like, I don't understand what any of this means. And you try to take all the jargon out, but it's still so much jargon. And it's not apples to apples, right? Like the things we do in the military are so entrenched into national defense and security that they go leaps and bounds above what you would do in the civilian sector, right? Because a lot of it comes down to the bottom line. Like we don't have the budget to be, tier one security safe. We have to take some risk and things of that nature. So it's kind of hard to explain what you do because it's kind of like speaking Greek. And then you throw on top of it, when I was a teenager, I was in charge of all this equipment, all this money. And then in my 20s, I'm managing all these people. And you're talking to a person who has no experience in that. And that's just not what the civilian sector does immediately. So some of it can sound kind of fantastical, right? Like that doesn't even make any sense. Why would they put a 22-year-old in charge of the Air Force network? You're like, well, because they have to, right? Like the military is a young man's game, young man and young woman's game. Like that's the prime age for what we do. So it's a lot harder to translate. So when I was speaking to him, it was a great interview. And then he was able to then talk to his leadership, right? His C-suite, and explain how I could be of value, even though my resume didn't quite align to what they were trying to do. But when I got there, I'm running circles around, my peers, because we're so used to being adaptable, right? Like in the military, you always have to plug those holes. You always have to work outside of your career field description, because that's just what needs to be done, right? And that's not necessarily true in the civilian sector. So I was able to, sometimes overwork, but produce results, and they loved it. So it was definitely a good risk on their part, and a very much a blessing for me to be able to make that transition, because at the time just contract work had dried up.
How many of the jobs that you've done post Air Force have been in an office?
Ooh, zero. Well, I mean, in my office. So all of my jobs, like again, I've been blessed, have been remote. So for all three of those companies, I was able to work from right here in the comfort of my own home. So I get to spend that time with my family, run errands when necessary. And I feel as though they get a lot more work out of me because I don't have to commute, so I jump right on. I start working, and then I'll forget what time it is and jump off in time for dinner, right? But I think it's mutually beneficial. So I love being able to work from home.
Are there any other veterans that you work with in any of these companies that you've connected to? Um, Going through any other, I asked the office question because it's tough for veterans to transition from being a member of a unit and a team to now working in an office
Right.
dynamic.
So yes, so at every job so far. So again, I had that connection with Steve at my first job. He's a Marine veteran. He gets it, but he was the only one. And then I was able to refer my friend Chris. So Chris came in as a consultant. He still works for them. So I had that connection. So I had, a good network, even though I was remote. And then when I transitioned over to HUD, again, I was referred to by a chief I worked for, Chris Jones, and he's in the local area. So at least I was able to interact with him, even though the job was out of DC. And there are a lot of, because it was federal contractor, there were a lot of military or prior military members. So I was able to interact with them as well. So you still have that connection. You can still, talk that jargon when necessary. And then now working in the financial sector, there actually are a lot of military people in risk. So like my boss and my boss's boss were both Navy. My direct boss, Air Force retired chief. And then, you have those ERGs that you have, like your veteran group, you have your minority group, whether it be Black, Hispanic, or Indigenous. So you have a lot of different teams that you can reach out to when you need that type of support. It is sometimes I do kind of miss being around other military members, but at the same time, the benefit of being around my family and all that time that I missed outweighs it. So I really do think this is the best of both worlds.
And you said you loved your time in the Air Force. You had a fantastic career. What were you most looking forward to about retiring, other than being home with family?
Oh man, that was the key was being home with family. But I would say I don't know, because again I had a really good career. That's a really good question. So outside of spending more time with family, because I was getting travel time in, I was getting exercise in, which I need to do more of. I'm out. Um, I would say it's the establishment of my own company. So I have more time to work on that because again, it stemmed out of a podcast. And now I'm trying to grow into a cyber consultancy as well as now I have the book. So I have that media arm, key speaker type focus. So I'm able to build my own brand now that I'm not Master Sergeant Williams, now that I'm Ryan Williams. So I think that would be the biggest gain from the retirement is now I get to figure out who I am and what value I can bring outside of the uniform.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I thought you were going to say growing a beard.
Oh, the freedom beard? Yeah, this is great. I'm never shaving it off. Never gonna do it.
And getting to wear civvies every day.
So that's the hard part for me. Like I'd spent 20 years like I knew what to wear, where to be, and how to act when I got there. Now it's like, well, what do I? Is it a button up? Is it a polo? Like what do I need to put on to go to this thing? So that would be one of the hardest parts of transition is figuring out how to dress.
Well, yeah, even though you work remotely, there's various meetings and activities you have to attend in person, right?
Right.
That doesn't stress you out, picking out what to wear.
It does. It does. Again, I have really good support at home, right? So I tell my wife, I'm like, hey, for any holiday, I would like clothes. I would like business casual or dress up clothes. So for Christmas, she got me a bunch of button downs and slacks, and I'm just like, okay, I have more of a wardrobe now from when I do go to networking events and things of that nature. Because yeah, I didn't really buy clothes like basketball shorts,
Right.
jeans, right?
And you've got one daughter or two daughters?
One daughter and two sons.
Okay. But I have two daughters. And so you probably hear, Dad, you're going to wear that to the meeting?
Oh yeah, yeah, I've done that several times. I was like, hey, I'm about to go out to this networking event. She's like, that
So you've
like
got help. You've got a support team.
right.
That's great. Well, you've talked about the podcast and the business. What does the next chapter look like for you?
So right now, so I've applied for 8A status through the Small Business Administration. So what I hope to do is take my company, so RAM Cyber Consulting and Assessments LLC. I want to support not only private, mom and pops and mid-sized businesses, but I want to veer back into supporting local government and federal contracts. Like I want to take that business and kind of come full circle and again get back to more of a national security and protection type business, because as it's where I feel not only the most comfortable, because like private sector needs all the help they can get as well, but just the mission. I want to get back to the mission, so I want to support all the above. So I'm waiting for that 8A to kick in, so I can have more leverage when it comes to securing contracts, as well as just getting more engagements for the next year, hopefully getting some sponsorships for the podcast. Like I want all three pillars to start firing on all cylinders. So, it's one enterprise with a coherent mission and, my own brand.
Yeah. Well, I hope that happens. It sounds like you were definitely on the right track. I wanted to ask a question about education, because I know you did the Air Force Community College and then used tuition assistance to get a bachelor's degree.
Yes, as well as my master's.
So where did you do your master's and when did you do that?
So I did my master's 2019 through 2020. So I graduated just after the pandemic. So right before going to Interlic, I finished my master's in cybersecurity and information assurance. So I pivoted back. So I did one class of it was like psychology counseling or something like that, and I was like, it's not for me. So like I enjoy it, but I don't really want to pursue it any further. So I said, okay, I need to pivot back, and I through JCSC, I started to really roll through a lot of really good certifications. So I had my PMP, right, my project management professional. I had my CISSP, my cyber information system security professional, CEH, certified ethical hacker. I'm forgetting one, but so I'd been rolling through these certifications and really established myself as a cyber professional in the military. So I said, okay, let me pursue my master's in the same wheelhouse. And through Western Governors University, I finished about, I think it was somewhere between 15 to 18 months. I finished my master's, and then I PCS'd to Interlic. So I really, like, I tell people, like, just knock out the education while you're in the middle of getting your education, right? Like you're already in student mode throughout your entire military career. You're always learning something. You're always attending the class. You're doing leadership. You're doing technical training. Go ahead and get a class in or two while you're doing that, and get the tuition assistance to pay for all that. So that way you can transfer your GI Bill, or you could do something different if you decide to do something different. So now my children and my wife get to use those benefits for their education, because my education is already complete.
And that's an amazing benefit that you earned.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like again, like I joined because I was like, school is beating me down, and now like through that I got a lot of discipline. I got a lot of assistance and mentorship, and I was able to go all the way through my graduate degree.
So if you went back and told your 19-year-old self who was walking through the Air Force store that you're making the right decision, would you do that?
Oh, absolutely. I'm like, this is going to be one of the best, aside from marrying your wife. This will be the second best decision you make in your life. It will take you very far. And I love my career. It's going to be very hard. You know, like the second part of my life is going to be very hard to top what I did in the military. But that's my goal, is to take all of those skills and all those resources I gathered when I was in the military, and now go into this next phase and hopefully do something or be part of something that's also amazing.
Well, and it sounds like you are, Ryan, and I want to thank you for walking us through your entire life and career and plans for the future. It has been fantastic to hear your Air Force story of service. So thank you for your service.
I appreciate it. Thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you. And looking forward to hearing about your next chapter and listening to your podcast.
I appreciate it. Thank you. This is an amazing experience. So I greatly appreciate it.
Is there anything about your life or career that I didn't ask about that you want to tell us?
No, I think we nailed it all. Like I'm from the east side of Buffalo. I'm just amazed at all the blessings that I've received throughout my life and having the experiences that I gained through the military. And I just want to continue to take that with me in the future and hopefully help out somebody else who's trying to, you know, be part of something bigger than themselves. Because it was an amazing ride.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Ryan.
Thank you.